Hey Z, thanks for bringing this video to my attention. I agree with you that um, Neil is essentially wrong, that atheism shouldn't exist as a word. Atheism should exist as a word because it's still very useful in at least the English-speaking countries where atheism is considered either the non-default position or the minority position, or non-majority is probably the better word to describe. And what I mean by this is that like he said, there's no word for non-golfer. Well, why not? Because 90% of the people are non-golfers. And there's also not a word for non-smoker because most people are not smokers. This is different than the fact that most people are non-Scientologist. So there's a word for Scientologist rather than non-Scientologist. And if atheists or secularists were the majority or the default or the, how do you say, majority and default is probably just the best words to use, then we would less likely have a word, or we would less likely use the word to describe the majority. We use words to identify people and things that set them apart from the norm, so to speak. For example, most people are non-handicapped. That's why we call the abnormal people handicapped. Most people are not retarded. That's why we have a word for people that are retarded. Most people are logical, so we don't normally say that person is logical. We just say that person is a normal person. We assume that a normal person is logical, and we have words to describe people who are non-logical or non-healthy. So as long as atheists and secularists are either the minority of a population or living in a country where people have a historical and cultural tendency to identify with religions, then there's going to be a word. Like I said earlier, yeah, the word non-golfer or non-Scientologist, a non-smoker, shouldn't exist, and they don't, because that's what most people are. Until being of a religion or any religion is considered a minority, atheists and secularists unfortunately will always have a word for them. Most people are non-criminals. And that's why we don't have a word for non-criminals. If being a criminal becomes majority, then perhaps law-abiding citizen will have a new word, or law-abiding citizen will become a phrase used slightly more often. So I think you get my point, and I think most people could agree why the word atheist still exists and isn't going away anytime soon. Thanks.